Hi, let's solve Leetcode 905 sort array by parity. This problem is also a part of the 2nd May 2022 Leetcode challenge. In this problem, we are given an array of integers called nums, and we have to move all the even integers to the beginning, followed by all the odd integers. So brute force way will be to just create a new array and move the even elements first and then the odd elements. For example, let's take the example 3, 1, 2, 4. We'll create a new array. We traverse the old array once, and as soon as we find an even element, we push it into the array. So we get 2, then we get 4, then we again traverse the array once to find all the odd elements and put them into the new array. So a time complexity in this brute force method will be order of n, because we are traversing the array twice, and the size of the array is n, so it will be order of n in time, and it will also be order of n in space because we are using a new array. Now we can improve the solution and bring down the space complexity to constant by doing the changes in place. Let's see how we can do that. So I'll take the same example 3, 1, 2, and 4. So we know that till a particular point, let's call a particular point to be x. We know that till a particular point x, all the elements before x will be even and all the elements after x will be odd, and x can be even or odd. Now let us consider two pointers, one pointing to the first element and the second pointing to the last element. Let's call them I and j. So when I and j become equal, that means the array has been sorted the way we want. So let us first check if the element present at I is even or not. If it's not even, then it has to be swapped. So we do not change I. Then we check the element present at j. Is it odd? If it's not odd, then we have to swap that. So since I and j both are not at their places, we'll swap the elements. So this becomes 4 and this becomes 3, and we move I and j. Then we again check, is I is at its correct place? Since I should be pointing to an even element, but and j also comes here. And then we check if I is at its correct place. I should be pointing to an even element, but it's not. And similarly, j should be pointing to an odd element, and it's not. So that means they are not at the correct place, and we have to swap them. So it becomes 2 and 1, and then j becomes I, and like we increase I and decrease j, and j becomes greater than I. So we stop doing the swapping, and we have got the sorted array, that is 4, 2, 1, and 3. All the even elements are first, followed by the odd elements. So the pseudocode kind of looks something like this. After we initialize I and j, while I is less than j, if nums of I is even, then we increase I, else if nums of j is odd, then we know that nums of j is at its correct place, then we decrease j minus we decrease j. Else if none of these condition happen, that means both the elements at I and j are not at its correct place, and so we swap nums I and j, and we do a I plus plus and j minus minus. So this is a pseudocode, and that's how the solution will work. So the time complexity again in this solution will be order of n, because we're traversing the array only once, and the space complexity this time turns out to be a constant because we're doing all the swaps in place. Now let's code it out. First of all, we'll be declaring the two pointers. One will be pointing to the start of the array and the other will be pointing to the last element of the array. And while I is less than j, if the element at I is at its correct place, that is, if the element at I is even, then we do a I plus plus since it is at its correct place. Else, if the element at j is at its correct place, we do a j minus minus. Else we know that both of them are not at its correct place and we have to do a swap. So we swap the element at I and at j, and then we move the pointers. After doing this, the array will be sorted the way we wanted it to be, that is by parity, and it will be in place. So it will be an order of n in time as we discussed, and it will also be an order of 1, that is constant in space. So this is solution. We'll be returning the same array, that is nums. Okay, let's run it. Okay, let's run all the sample test cases. So all the sample test cases are running, and let's submit it. Yeah, so the code is working perfectly fine. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel, and if you found this video helpful, please consider liking it. Thank you so much for watching.